You're listening to the CobCast. I'm Cobb, and this is the cast, back with another weekly roundup. Weekly roundup number 2 of my previously published stories from the last week. Here we go. Fraudulent psychics are raking in the dough during the pandemic. During times of fear and uncertainty, more people turn to spiritualism. Detective Bob Nygaard has made a career out of tracking down con artists, more specifically, fraudulent psychics. He said Texas is a hotspot for such fraud. Over the years, Nygaard has recovered millions of dollars in cases of psychic fraud. He said people have been reaching out to him left and right saying they've been defrauded by psychics during the pandemic. Recently, he received an email from a North Texas woman saying she and a group of others had been scammed out of thousands of dollars by a psychic who claimed to be ridding them of bad energy. When the conned come to Nygaard, they generally feel just as helpless as they did when confronting their psychics. They are sometimes even suicidal when they call him. These frauds take advantage of people in their most vulnerable states. The ones who fall for it are often being financially destroyed, he says. The Dallas Police Department's mounted unit divides opinion. When Dallas Police Sergeant Victor Renteria heads out for patrol, he rides on the back of Earthquake, one of the mounted unit's tallest horses. Earthquake is just over 18 hands, about 6 feet tall, towering above any pedestrians they pass. He says one mounted officer is equivalent to 10 regular officers. He and others with the unit say horses provide them with more mobility, a vantage point they otherwise wouldn't have, and an increased sense of police presence when they're out patrolling city streets. The horses are particularly useful in crowd control situations. He also says the horses help with community relations.
For people who don't really like the police, they will still come up and talk to us, and you can build relationships with the community, especially those communities who don't really like the police, right?
But others aren't so sure, saying they worry about the treatment of the horses as well as the negative impact the units may have on communities. The Federal Aviation Administration grounds North Texas flights. The FAA halted all arriving and departing flights out of DFW International Airport and Dallas Love Field last Wednesday. The two airports announced the air traffic stoppage on their respective social media channels. The closures were in effect from 3 p.m. until around 5:30 p.m., and were in part due to bad weather and required sanitation at the FAA's primary off-site operations center for the region in Fort Worth. The control center employs about 380 air traffic controllers and handles high-level air traffic in multiple states. And lastly, identity fraud spikes during pandemic. COVID-19 has contributed to a rise in cases of identity theft as scammers seek to cash in on unemployment benefits and other programs meant to alleviate the economic effects of the pandemic. Dallas Police Detective Ryan McCarrick said that since the pandemic broke out, 5 to 6 identity fraud cases hit the desks of the department's Financial Investigations Unit a day. And that's a wrap for your weekly roundup number 2. If you want to read these stories, you can find links to them in the description below. I'm Jacob Vaughn, a journalist based out of North Texas. Some people call me Cobb, and this is the CobCast. Thanks for listening.